Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. It is time for Mic'd Up Monday, presented by Wrangler. Let's start with the Texans defeating the Bengals 30-27. CJ Stroud is him. All right, he threw for 356 yards, led a drive over the final 93 seconds that put Matt Amendola in range for a game-winning 38-yard field goal. As time ran out, they got the win. Emotional, happy, everything. And D'Amico Ryan, after the game, giving his team a victory Monday.
Hey, man. Hey, love you guys, man. Come on, man. Hey, we talk about finishing. Every snap, and when it goes down to the last snap, and we finish it, I love it. All right, I love it. We come on the road and beat a really good team. But guess what? We a good team. I'll give it to you one more time.
The vibes are just immaculate in that locker room. Come on.
It really just is like the simplest solution is give your players an extra day off. If you want to be seen as the coach that everybody loves, D'Amico Ryans hasn't had to work hard to endear himself, Dad. He just naturally seems to exude that kind of leadership, the kind of guy that draws you in as a coach. But an incredible win for them, Dad. And now we're starting to get to the point where after going and beating a Bengals team, and neither you and I predicted this, we both thought the Bengals would handle their business, a more mature team in their life cycle. The Houston Texans are now going to say, why can we not be an AFC playoff team? Why can we not potentially challenge a Jacksonville team that lost this weekend for the division in the AFC South? And certainly for CJ Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year may no longer be a good enough conversation for him. It might have to now devolve to full-blown MVP chatter. He has earned that with the way that he has gone out and played as a young player so far, Dad.
You know, you sit there and you want to look at where he is in the league. He's second in yards at this point. He's sixth in rating. He's ninth in touchdowns with 15, but he only has 2 interceptions. To me, that's still, he threw one in this game, but it's still one of the most amazing stats to me, and just calm and cool. Now, they had a good running game that helped them. They had over 160 yards rushing. Noah Brown had himself a game, I think, averaging like 23, 24 yards a catch. Tank Dell, another. That's the thing. Tank Dell, a rookie. You know, you have young players you can build around. That defense really good against the run, not as much against the pass, but playing really well against the run. And you have a young head coach who relates to the players really well. So not only are they playing well now, but even if it was a little less than this, you'd say still arrow up on the youth and how they're playing and how they're picking everything up. But they're coming in way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, CJ Stroud himself, so special. You see the mobility. I said to someone the other day, every game CJ Stroud has played in the NFL has been the Ohio State-Georgia game from the college football playoff, where it seemed like the light went on. And then ever since then, he's been mobile at the right times. He's existed well in Bobby Slowick's offense that puts him on the move a little bit, does a lot of things to help naturally protect him from a defense like the one he saw from Lou Anarumo and this Cincinnati Bengals squad here. But he can do the stuff that's off script. He's got an arm that's strong enough to make the throws when his feet aren't necessarily set under him. And Daddy's got a short memory. At the end of this game, you got the interception that almost went for a pick six that gets the Bengals right back into this. You got a throw near the 2-minute drill deep downfield on third down that stops the clock, gives the Bengals another opportunity to go tie this thing, and he's able to shut all that off, compartmentalize it, and go down and lead a game-winning drive for this team. You mentioned the rookies, Dad. I also want to shout out they've got the perfect mix of veteran guys on this team. Robert Woods and what he's done for that receiver room. The offensive line with guys like Laramie Tunsil and Tyus Howard and company there. Defensively, Sheldon Rankins had one of the more dominant performances you will ever see in that game. According to Next Gen Stats, he had a career-high 7 pressures and 3 sacks, all of which came matched up with right guard Alex Kappa for the Cincinnati Bengals. That was a dominant performance. So they did a great job of not only finding talented rookies, including their quarterback, but also the perfect mix of veterans in the right places that have really shined and I think been great off the field, certainly for these players, but on the field as well.
Yeah, lot to build on there. And you said, you're right, it's a good mixture. And what he did, Rankins, as you said, on the inside, absolutely amazing. to see that, because as you've talked about, a D lineman could have 1 sack and 2 pressures and consider it a great game, and the O lineman have a bad game. Well, that was a really bad game from an O lineman standpoint. And think next couple of games they play the Cardinals, where Kyler Murray has come back and given them a victory, and then they have Jacksonville, they have Denver, and then they have the Jets. So all of a sudden you start to talk about flexing schedules, Sundays and Mondays, they could be a team that gets flexed into some of these games with the way they're playing right now. And oh, by the way, that game, a last-second field goal, was a record-setting one of 5 field goals, winning field goals, as time expired. Not just like a field goal with a minute to go to put you ahead. Field goals as the clock ran out. One of 5 yesterday. They beaten Cincinnati, Cleveland beaten Baltimore, Arizona beaten Atlanta, Detroit over the Chargers, and Seattle over Washington. So big kicker day, big kicker energy of making the kicks when they count, especially in Cleveland, coming off missing the extra point to stay down 1 where that could have been tied up 31 all, miss the extra point, but get the chance to kick the game winner at the end.
We'll talk a lot more about CJ Stroud when we get Michael Lombardi here in a little bit. But you mentioned Cleveland. Jesse, let's get to the next sound on our schedule as we look at the Browns and Ravens slugfest from this weekend.
Yeah, Browns rallied from a 14-point fourth-quarter deficit Sunday for what they called a statement victory, so 33-31 against the division-leading Baltimore Ravens. Amari Kugler giving us a look in... inside a happy Browns locker room after the game. Guys, can either of you name this song? Take a look. A listen.
Hey! What are you trying to say? Go your trap! Hey! Yo, man!
Yeah, that's Take Over Your Trap. It's become pretty popular in visiting locker rooms.
I knew it.
Yeah.
We knew it was something that you would know, GoJo. So we're really glad that you could clarify that for us.
I mean, I knew it as well. I just let Mike, say it.
For sure.
Oh, right.
For sure.
Yeah, you did.
On my playlist.
Guys, this kind of begs the question, what's going on in the AFC North? It's very confusing.
Dad, this to me was the easiest game to see coming. Not that the Browns won. I mean, it was going to be a coin flip down in the end, but the fact that this game was close, strange, started off pretty early on in the first defensive series with a defensive touchdown by Kyle Hamilton, former Notre Dame safety.
Yeah,
and
great play.
Then just continued to get weird all the way down in this game. The AFC North is tailor-made for really close contests between teams, and I thought among a number of things, Dad, right, we saw Myles Garrett show up early and often this one like we expected. The Ravens defense made those plays, but at certain junctures, the legs of Deshaun Watson able to get them out of some of the trouble caused by that Ravens pressure package, and they eked this one out.
Yeah, and basically 3 receivers, Cooper and Njoku and Moore, 9, 9, and 7 targets there. That's where Deshaun Watson was going. We know how good that defense is. And, Jesse, you ask about the North. Now, Cleveland and Baltimore have split for the year. But in the division, Cleveland's 2-2, Baltimore's 2-2, Cincinnati is 0-2, and Pittsburgh is 2-0. From a division standpoint. So we've talked about this being the best division, the only division where you have every team over 500. Cincinnati, I would say, with the most surprising loss, or one of the most surprising losses of the weekend, as we all thought they were making their move and coming back in this one. But, we said going into this weekend, what was it, Mike? Every team in the North would be in the playoffs. All 3 of the wild cards would come from the North. And I don't think that's going to happen, but it certainly is a possibility with the way they're playing right now. But I agree, that was a statement big win for the Browns. They were on the verge of losing both their games to Baltimore, both division losses to them.
Yeah, and I think we talked about the discrepancy the first time around they played. Dorian Thompson-Robinson goes in there, and what this Browns outfit needed. Obviously, they're paying Deshaun Watson to be one of the best quarterbacks in football, and It doesn't seem like you're going to get that. It doesn't seem like it's in the cards. And so we looked at what does this team need going forward based on how dominant that defense has been, and they really just need you to be an okay NFL quarterback, Dad. I feel like if you can get baseline quarterback play and with a few extra added wrinkles with the mobility mixed in there, this can be a team that's absolutely not just a playoff team, but one capable of winning because you've got such a weapon on defense.
Yeah, rushing for 178 yards helps your quarterback without question.
Absolutely. We will get to the final member of Mic'd Up Monday's illustrious trio next here on GoJo and Golic.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. I'm Jesse Cofield. We still have one more bit of sound to get to for Mic'd Up Monday. So Vikings defeated the Saints 27-19, and Josh Dobbs, he went out, threw for a career-high 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. Good for the Vikings' 5th straight victory, and it has been a wild, wild ride for Josh Dobbs. Here he is reflecting on his last few weeks with the Vikings postgame.
I just moved out of the hotel, so we're making strides off the field. But I did pinch myself. It's been really cool just being able to take it all in. The fans, the support has been absolutely tremendous, around the city. And so, yeah, I'm taking it in stride. What I like to say is I'm exactly where my feet are. I'm not thinking too far ahead. I'm not thinking in the past, man. I'm right here. I'm taking it all in.
Every time Josh Dobbs starts talking, I'm reminded that he is a rocket scientist.
Yes, truly is.
Got a genius who also understands, like you said, exactly where his feet are and what he needs to say. Daddy's done a great job leading that team since he's been over there. And this weekend, they went out there and were able to get it done yet again. The mobility of Josh Dobbs, certainly another thing that was on display. You saw some of the extracurricular plays, including that awesome rushing touchdown down in the red zone where he circled back out of a couple of would-be tacklers. But overall, Dad, I think for this game, you look on the Saints sideline, a lot more, too, about what went wrong for them. Derek Carr in this game leaves with an injury. Right. Michael Thomas leaves with injury in this game. So Jameis Winston has to finish this out. And it just seems like a Saints team that's going to be, once again, trying to cobble together around injuries some version of their season.
It's a Saints team that I thought the offense would be way more prolific than it is. With Carr and with Olave and with Thomas and with Kamara, I thought they would be one of the top offenses, and they haven't been. And they've been nicked up, as you mentioned, Carr a couple of times, and now Thomas as well. Defensively, they've always been a pretty stout defense. But give Josh Dobbs and that Minnesota offense, a lot of credit. And it's always interesting when a new quarterback comes in, who do they kind of lean to? And we always talk about a tight end being a safety blanket. TJ Hockenson, we keep talking about Christian McCaffrey at the trade deadline, but remember TJ Hockenson was a monster move for them as well when they traded for him from Detroit. He had 15 targets, I think, 11 receptions yesterday. I mean, he was the guy. That's where Josh Dobbs was looking, and TJ was there to help all that he could. So I'm not sure where I put this team, Mike, of where I want to put them in the NFC. Again, a conference that we talk about very, very, very top-heavy, which could basically be Philadelphia, San Francisco jumping back into the picture, and certainly Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. I don't know how deep it really goes, so I'm not sure where to put Minnesota, but this is more about Josh Dobbs and his ability to take the situation he is in and find a way to make the best of it. And he's just, listen, you never have to worry about him in a smart way picking things up. He's always going to do that.
Yeah, no, I think I would describe this team, Dad, as frisky. I don't know if I'm willing to rank them or predict them doing anything really of value, but again, this goes back to the Jets point that we talked about earlier of you had a team with a roster around it that looked pretty good. The offensive line had been protecting well for most of the season. You mentioned TJ Hockenson, Jordan Addison. You still, by the way, you saw Justin Jefferson on the sideline plenty. Yep, he's a guy that said the other week, when I'm healthy enough to play, it doesn't matter where we're at in the season. My goal is to be a Hall of Famer, and sitting out long swaths of time isn't in line with that goal. So they're going to get him back at some point, Dad, in the midst of this offense. And like I said, Josh Dobbs is looking around going, man, you guys got rich person stuff over here. I was over hanging out in the desert for a long time. Kyler Murray came back yesterday and saw exactly what I've been working with, was able to scrap one out against the Atlanta Falcons. I got good toys to play with right now, and so I'm going to go out here and ball, and he did just that.
Yeah, by the way, Kyler Murray needs a step counter for the amount of running around that he does in the pocket to make plays, and then it's just absolutely amazing. But they did eke one out. But I'm with you. They're an interesting team. There are a couple games back at Detroit, but it's tough for me to sit there and say, yeah, they're one of the contending teams. Need to see more here. But getting Justin Jefferson back soon could be huge.